Have you ever noticed something strange? The version of you that exists with your friends isn't exactly the same version that exists with your parents, or strangers, or online. You change. Not because you're pretending, not because you're fake. You just do. Which raises a question that sounds simple, but gets stranger the longer you think about it. When everyone leaves, when there's nobody to talk to, nobody to impress, nobody to judge you, where does your personality go? Because if who you are changes depending on who's around, then who exactly is left when you're completely alone? Most people assume they know the answer. The real you comes out, right? The masks come off, the performance ends, and somewhere beneath all those different versions, there's one authentic personality sitting there, waiting. Simple. Case closed. Except psychologists spent decades studying personality and came back with an answer that was far less satisfying and somehow far more interesting. Imagine your personality as a theater troupe. There's the funny one, the serious one, the anxious one, the version of you that talks too much around close friends, the version that barely says a word around strangers, the version that acts mature around younger siblings, the version that becomes a child again around grandparents. They're all backstage, and different situations call different actors onto the stage. Not because you're fake, but because humans are adaptable. Researchers even found that situations often predict our behavior better than personality alone, which led to a strange realization. Maybe personality isn't a script carved into stone. Maybe it's more like a cast of characters. But then comes the really weird part. What happens when the theater is empty? When there's no audience? No friends, no family, no strangers, nobody at all. Do all the actors leave? Does your personality pack its bags and go on vacation? Not really. Something stranger happens. The stage just gets quieter. Because even when you're physically alone, your social brain doesn't clock out. It keeps working. Maybe you're brushing your teeth and suddenly remember something embarrassing from 6 years ago. Maybe you're rehearsing a conversation that hasn't happened yet. Maybe you explain something out loud to nobody. Or think of a joke and laugh by yourself. Or imagine telling someone about your day. Without realizing it, you invited invisible guests into the room. Not ghosts, just memories. People you've known, people you've loved. Psychologists call these internal working models, tiny mental versions of the people around us that we've built over our entire lives. Their expectations, their voices, their reactions. And even when they're gone, those pieces remain. In a strange way, we're never truly alone, which means something surprising. Parts of your personality only wake up around certain people. Your sarcastic side might come alive around your best friend. Your nurturing side around younger kids. Your competitive side around siblings. And when those people aren't there, those parts don't disappear. They're simply not being called on stage. Like actors waiting behind the curtain, ready when the scene changes. People who spend long periods alone often notice something unusual. Not just loneliness, but change. Certain habits fade. Social roles become less important. Without anyone around to respond to them, some parts of ourselves become quieter. And that's why some people say solitude helps them find themselves, while others say they start feeling unsure of who they are. Because identity turns out to be much less solid than we like to believe. And here's the strange answer to our question. Where does your personality go when you're alone? Nowhere. It stays right where it always was. But some pieces become silent. Others become louder. And some simply wait. The quiet version of you sitting alone in your room isn't the real you. And neither is the version laughing with friends, or the version speaking professionally, or the version that gets nervous around strangers. They're all real. They're all you. Different sides responding to different worlds. Which leads to an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe there isn't one hidden, permanent version of yourself buried underneath everything else. maybe there never was. Maybe personality isn't something you have. Maybe it's something you do. Something that emerges from memories, relationships, experiences, and the countless invisible threads connecting you to everyone you've ever known. So perhaps the strangest thing about personality isn't that it changes, it's that we spend our entire lives searching for one permanent self, when perhaps being changeable was who we were all along. And maybe personality isn't a thing that lives inside us. Maybe it's something that happens between us and the world around us. What do you think? Who are you when nobody's watching?